Last time on Commander Go.
And welcome to the Commander Go Show.
Hey, Go. Not to tell you your business or anything, but you forgot to say what movie you were reviewing this time.
Oh, I didn't forget. We're doing a special episode this time.
Oh, what have I gotten myself into?
No, don't worry, you'll love it. This time we're doing the top 20 animated TV shows.
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited.
And now, the conclusion.
Number 10. Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck takes place in the DuckTales universe and is a humorous parody of the superhero genre. However, that's not what it was originally intended to be. The makers of this show began it as a project intended to spoof the spy genre. The original intended title was Double O Duck, and it was going to be a spin-off of a DuckTales episode of the same name, which dealt with the spy genre. But during the production process, ideas got changed and the project morphed into the superhero parody that you see it as now. However, some elements from the original spy series idea did remain, like the spy organizations Shush and Fowl.
Yeah, but now they're incorporated into this superhero thing.
Right, and that enabled them to create the title character, Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, he's great. He's this superhero, but he's a superhero for like all the wrong reasons. He's this egotistical character who wants the fame, the glory, all of that.
Right, but deep down, he does have the heart of a hero, even if you do have to dig really deep to get to it. But it really comes out when dealing with his adopted daughter, Gosalyn.
Yeah, she's what makes the show for me. She's this adorable little troublemaker, but she's got this great relationship with her adopted father. You really feel the love between those two.
Why, Bruce, you really are a softie underneath it all, aren't you?
What? But no, I'm not a softie. I'm a dinosaur. I'm belligerent.
Number 9. X-Men.
You mean the one with the killer theme song?
That's right, Bruce. The 90s cartoon. But it was more than just a great theme song. This show brought the comic books to life on the screen by directly adapting some of the most acclaimed comic book story arcs. It also had sophisticated writing and mature subject matter that didn't talk down to its audience. The characters were all treated with a weight and gravitas that really brought the X-Men into the mainstream instead of just being something for comic book nerds.
Yeah, and the best stories were the ones that took place in the Savage Land. That's that prehistoric land they have in the middle of Antarctica in that universe.
Well, it adapted a lot of great stories like Dark Phoenix, Age of Apocalypse, Days of Future Past.
Well, if they didn't have dinosaurs, they don't compare.
Number 8. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, 2002.
2002? I thought He-Man was an 80s thing.
It was. This is a remake they did in the early 2000s. And while I do have a fondness for the original, I have to admit the remake was the better show. The original cartoon in the 80s was the first cartoon to be directly based on a toy line. Prior to that, cartoons based on a toy line weren't permitted on television. At the time, parents groups were already upset about what was essentially a half-hour-long toy commercial in cartoon form. So this series was being extra careful not to offend parents groups. It made it extremely kid-friendly. I mean, even for young kids. This is an action cartoon with a pretty action-packed premise, but the violence was severely toned down. The villains were made kind of buffoonish, and each episode had to have a very clear-cut moral. They even ended each episode with a moral spoken directly to the audience, breaking the fourth wall. But despite this, they were able to bring a lot of creativity, imagination, and charm to that cartoon. And the writing, while it couldn't be sophisticated, did manage to throw in a few gems over the course of that series. But the remake aired a couple decades later on Cartoon Network, so it could have more action, better writing that lives up to the premise of the series, and better and more consistent animation quality. It made a few minor tweaks to the original series, but overall remained true to the spirit of the original, just done better. So this, I think, is the series that really lives up to the potential of its premise. Number 7. House of Mouse. After Disney had spent years keeping their biggest star, Mickey Mouse, out of the spotlight on the television screen, they decided to bring him back to television with a new series that would be made up of new cartoon shorts made in the style and spirit of the original Mickey Mouse cartoons that debuted theatrically decades ago. They aired these cartoons in a series called Mickey's Mouseworks.
Mouseworks? Didn't you say this was about a series called House of Mouse?
I'm getting there, Bruce. You see, Mickey's Mouseworks didn't go over very well. It wasn't very popular. But they decided to give these new cartoon shorts another go. They decided to repackage them into a new series. This series was called House of Mouse, and it showed these cartoons in an anthology series with a new framing device. In the new framing device, Mickey Mouse owns a nightclub, and this nightclub just shows cartoons and serves meals. His friends, Donald, Minnie, Goofy, and Daisy help to run it, and his audience is made up of Disney characters pulled from the entire history of Disney animation. Disney characters from throughout the decades were all brought together here in this one audience. This new framing device is what made the show. The cartoons they showed were decent enough, but it's really the story of Mickey owning this nightclub that really got our attention. Each episode had its own little storyline and gags, all shown in the few minutes between cartoon breaks. But that was really all it took to make this series great where Mouseworks had failed. Number 6. The Real Ghostbusters.
Real Ghostbusters? That's rich. These guys don't even look like the guys from the movie. These guys are clearly just cartoons. They are not real. Wait a minute. I'm a cartoon. Am I real? Go, what are you doing to me? You're giving me an existential crisis here.
Just calm down, Bruce. Actually, the title of The Real Ghostbusters is because it was competing with another Ghostbusters show.
2 Ghostbusters shows on at the same time?
That's right. You see, when Columbia Pictures, which made the Ghostbusters movie, wanted to make the movie, they realized that the name Ghostbusters had already been taken by Filmation, which is usually an animation studio, but they'd actually made a live-action TV series in the 70s for air on Saturday mornings. This was called The Ghostbusters, and featured 2 men and a gorilla chasing ghosts. Other than the fact that they were chasing ghosts, it really had nothing to do with the premise for the movie that Columbia Pictures was making. But they negotiated with them to clear the use of the name anyway. During those negotiations, Filmation came away with the idea that they would be making a TV series based upon the movie that Columbia Pictures was making.
I'm guessing that didn't happen, though.
That's right. When the movie became popular and they did decide to go ahead with an animated TV series, they shopped around and decided to go with DiC. Unfortunately, Filmation was not too happy with this. But as the original owners of the name, Filmation still had every right to make a Ghostbusters series based on its original Ghostbusters series from the 1970s. And they did. And they scheduled its release just before the show that would be called The Real Ghostbusters was to debut. DiC, in response, decided to title their TV series The Real Ghostbusters, so the audience would get that it's tied to the movie that everyone knows and loves. So it's real in the sense that it's tied to the movie that everyone's looking for.
Oh, okay. I guess that kind of makes sense. Does that solve my existential crisis?
Yes?
Well, that's a relief.
But The Real Ghostbusters was really the better of the 2 series, as it was based on the movie that everyone loves, and did manage to capture the spirit and the writing of that original movie. It was a rather sophisticated show in both the writing and the humor, at least in its early seasons, and I think it would be appreciated by most Ghostbusters fans today. Number 5. Animaniacs. Animaniacs was Warner Brothers' follow-up to Tiny Toon Adventures. Essentially, Tiny Toon Adventures walked so Animaniacs could run. Like Tiny Toon Adventures, it was part of that animation renaissance of the 90s. a throwback to the golden age of animation and the great cartoons that came out of that era. But where the new characters created for Tiny Toon Adventures were directly based on Golden Age characters, Animaniacs came up with a whole new, completely original set of characters. This was the closest thing to getting brand new Looney Tunes with brand new Looney Tunes characters in the 90s. Led by the zany Warner brothers Yakko and Wacko and their sister Dot, and featuring the ever-popular Pinky and the Brain, the mice who wanted to take over the world, who got their own spin-off near the end of this series, as well as a whole host of unique characters, sophisticated and witty comedy writing, and excellent animation, Animaniacs scores a well-deserved top 5 spot.
One thing I didn't get, though, is if the Brain is really so smart, why does he even want to take over the world to begin with? Ruling the world seems like one enormous hassle that nobody would really appreciate anyway, even if you did a good job.
Number 4. Batman, the Animated Series.
You didn't put this as your number 1? Oh, you're gonna get letters.
I think you mean comments, Bruce.
Again, literal dinosaur.
Well, Batman is my second favorite superhero, but this is the series. In fact, probably the interpretation of Batman out of all of Batman lore that does him the best. So, yeah, it's definitely getting a top 5 spot here at number 4. This series was lightning in a bottle. It just got everything right. It introduced a new style of animation, a new way of exaggerating characters for animation that sort of revolutionized action cartoons for a while. The writing was intelligent and heavily inspired by its source material in the comic books. And the voice casting was amazing. These characters now sound the way they sounded in this series in my mind whenever I encounter them on the written page. Especially Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker. And this series inspired an entire DC animated universe with new series that all tie in together, all springing from this Batman the Animated Series.
And so it's not your number 1 because...
Okay, well, as a sort of preview of the next 3 to come, there is one superhero that I love more than Batman. And one pop culture franchise that really started my love of pop culture franchises, my first fandom, if you will. And these are represented in the 3 to come. And remember, this is all completely subjective. Your list should be different than mine. Number 3. Superman, the Animated Series. Okay, Superman is that one superhero that I love more than Batman. Superman is amazing. And everything I just said about Batman the Animated Series is also true of this follow-up, Superman the Animated Series, the first spin-off of Batman the Animated Series. The same production crew worked on this, the same writers, the same animation team. So what they did for Batman, they were able to do for Superman. So basically, this is the best adaptation of all the adaptations of my favorite superhero of all time. It gets him right, just like Batman the Animated Series gets Batman right. And the voice casting of this series is just as iconic. Tim Daly as Superman, Dana Delaney as Lois Lane, and especially Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor. These voices are incredible and perfectly match these characters.
So this is one Batman versus Superman scenario where Superman actually wins.
Yes, but again, in my own subjective opinion. Number 2. The Transformers. This was my first fandom. This series may have made me the pop culture fan that I am today. There was something incredibly fascinating about the concept of these robots that could transform into vehicles and other things. It had this action-packed premise about this interstellar alien war brought to Earth and being fought on our planet over our resources. And the characters were more iconic and compelling than they really had any right to be. Even those that made this series in interviews will tell you they believed they were making a toy commercial and didn't treat it that seriously. But this may be one case where that actually paid off. It seems like since the creators thought no one would be taking this seriously, they actually felt like they could have some fun with it, take some risks, do some crazy things, and it paid off. Now characters like Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Starscream, Soundwave, and Megatron are all very well known. I was actually pleasantly surprised when this franchise that I loved so much as a child made such a huge comeback, and it seems to have stuck around ever since.
Well, if it wants to keep sticking around, I got some advice for them.
Here we go again.
The Dinobots should be the main characters. All Dinobots all the time, and I guess everybody else can just kind of be sidekicks or something.
Well, as much as I love the Dinobots, I'm not sure Grimlock could really carry the show as the main character.
You just have a pro-mammal bias, don't you?
What do you mean mammals? These characters are all robots.
Stop making sense when I'm complaining.
And the number one animated series, according to Commander Go, is Justice League Unlimited.
Wait a minute, aren't those two different shows?
Well, it depends on who you ask. As for me, I see them as one continuous show. Both have the same continuity, they focus on the same main characters, and have the same production team and art style. The differences between Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, to me, seem to be just tweaks and revamps to revitalize the show for a new season.
You know, you're probably going to have a lot of people disagree with you on that.
Well, yes, but I think that's good. There should be room for all interpretations.
Yeah. Well, what makes this number one, then?
Well, for the same reasons I love Batman and Superman, the animated series, so much. It's the same production team here again, same animation style, same attention to detail, the same respect for the source material, the same impressive writing, the same iconic voice cast, with a few exceptions, but for the most part, those exceptions ended up being equally iconic, like George Newbern replacing Tim Daly as Superman. But it does all of this in a world that brings my favorite superheroes all together, and expands that world, introducing amazing new characters as well. It is the DC animated universe in its fully realized form. If there's anyone out there that's new to DC Comics and their various film adaptations and wants to know what it's all about, this is the show to watch. Justice League Unlimited. Okay, so that wraps up our top 20 animated TV shows.
Not so fast there, Go. You never asked me about my favorite animated TV show. And after having listened to you do 20 of these things, you know what? I'm giving my top 5. There you go. Top 5 animated TV shows by Bruce. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bruce's top 5 TV cartoons. Look, while I was waiting, I even made my own title card. Here, look.
Okay, Bruce, but based on your reactions, I think people are going to expect they know what your top number 1 is going to be, the Flintstones.
Yeah, shows what you mammals know. It's only number 5 for me. I've got 4 ahead of it. Okay, here, I'm going to rattle these off real quick, okay? Number 5, The Flintstones. Yeah, for reasons said. It's a sitcom in the world of the dinosaurs. Wonderful. Number 4, Super Mario World. Because this is the Mario cartoon that introduces Yoshi. And of course, Yoshi's the best character. Number 3, Denver the Last Dinosaur. Because, as it should be, the spotlight is on the dinosaur. Although he's not doing, like, totally cool things. He plays rock music and stuff, sure. But my number 2, that's Dino Riders, where the dinosaurs may be sidekicks to the mammals, but they are doing cool things. They're fighting wars with lasers and stuff. Awesome. And my number 1, Dino Saucers, where alien dinosaurs come to Earth and they fight a war against other alien dinosaurs, and they have mammal sidekicks. That's right, the spotlight is on the dinosaurs, and the mammals are the sidekicks like they should be. That's the best cartoon ever. Alright, that was Bruce's top 5, everybody. How about a round of applause for me, Bruce? Yeah, this is the best cartoon list. Everybody should be watching these cartoons.
All right, Bruce. Well, if there's nothing more from you, there's nothing more, right?
I think I have said what needs to be said, and I don't think anyone is going to argue with me.
In that case, so long, everybody. See you next time.
Yeah, so long, mammals. Go watch some dinosaur cartoons.